Welcome, everyone. Today is Monday, August 4th. We are here on behalf of SIG Autoscaling to hold our weekly community meeting. We abide by the CNCF Code of Conduct, so just a reminder to folks to please be kind and respectful to one another, and we'll welcome all voices for a productive conversation. All right, without further ado, we do have a brief agenda. It looks like uh, is the person with handle Vita Noves present? I think I see Stoyan. Is that you?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, go ahead. I'll give you the floor.
Um, sure. Thanks. Shall I share my screen or you can just, yeah,
I'm not, I'm happy to share this
open the
issue if that's
issue?
enough visual for you to.
Uh, yeah, so we basically opened an issue about the preferred update mode strategy for auto. Um, Long story short, we decided to open the issue because we have like a lot of VPA resources that we were wondering how to um, slowly start to utilize the in-place updates. And we came up with that decision to open the issue. First, we discussed it in the umbrella one that briefly covers the next steps for the in-place updates. And I opened that one to actually focus on the auto preferred mode. So we had few alternatives that we discussed. Initially, we were considering having a feature gate, a dedicated feature gate that would act as a switch between recreate and in-place or recreate update modes for auto. As you might know, it currently does a recreate if a resource is set with it. So we were discussing having that feature gate. Later on, we went with so we kind of discussed the approach with the flag, having a dedicated flag for the VPA updater, which would um, which would be the more configurable option, so to speak. If you like scroll down to the um, probably a little bit more. Yep, I guess that's the flag case here, but it's in the comments. So the flag pretty much would allow the users to explicitly define which update mode strategy to pick as a preferred one. Again, limiting to recreate or in place or a recreate. Here probably I haven't updated the example, but it's somewhere in the comments. So that was the second option that we discussed, and the final one that was introduced probably last Thursday was deprecating auto as a whole. And I mean that's an ongoing. I would imagine that's an ongoing initiative and needs to be discussed further. But deprecating auto and using the specific update modes without having to specify a preferred strategy and so on. So that were the alternatives that we discussed, and I would really like you to give your opinion here. I know it might be uh, it might take some time to like draw a, a decision, but yeah, just to hear your input on those three variants.
Great, thank you so much. Can I pick on Omer or Adrian to have either of you two? I see you two present. Taking a look at this.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
I
whoa.
I filed the initial ticket saying what are we doing next.
Yeah,
I also consulted with Maciek. Is it pronounced Maciek? He's on steering. I think he has SIG Autoscaling underneath him, and I think he's got experience with like API machinery. And he's the one who suggested just deprecating auto. So I'm in favor for deprecating auto because it's magical.
yeah.
Yeah,
That
I
makes
agree.
in the when you were describing it, Stoyan, I was just wondering what the value of auto is if you have to pair it with a bunch of other fine-grained preferences. So it seemed like it was sort of losing maybe its original intention.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah. We were actually discussed this here internally with my team, what auto really mean and what was its initial what was the initial idea of introducing it. So yeah.
Yeah, but I think we
Is
all
this whole behavior behind any like an alpha feature flag, or if anything at an alpha, like a pre-beta level, so we could do that deprecation relatively easily, or do we want to initiate the sort of normal deprecation process?
Autos existed since basically the beginning of time, and it's been an alias
Yeah.
for recreate with the promise of one day this will be magical. And that's where the problem lies, is if somebody has been relying on auto to recreate their pod, maybe it's a Java application or a container-aware application. Now we're going to be changing the behavior out underneath them. So the overall question is how do we do this in a neat way?
Yeah.
Hence the suggestions of a flag or that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, auto is it's not well defined and it never had a good meaning.
Well, it
So
sounds like it was defined in the sense that there was the behavioral contract, like we will get to the goal state, but we're not going to guarantee how we get there. But that the user community has adhered itself to actually a particular how. And so as we experiment with the idea of changing the underlying behavior, potentially not serving our users who expect auto to actually mean a very particular thing. Is that fair?
Mm-hmm.
sorry, say that again.
Well, it sounds based on what you said about its origins, auto does seem to have been defined as a way for the user to actually explicitly say, I don't care how you mutate the sort of old configuration and render the new configuration. But you're saying in practice, users who use this actually do care. So you could say maybe uh, the only way to sort of enforce that kind of behavioral contract would be to continually change it under the hood. And the user community would be reminded, like, yeah, no, I get it. This is the way, this is the option I only
Yeah,
choose because I don't care about. But
I see
after
what you're
10 years of
saying.
no changes, now it's sort of been locked in as like auto does this particular thing. Yeah.
Hiram's, well, they choose it because they don't care, but Hiram's law says that as
Yeah.
soon as you expose some sort of your API, and user will depend on it. So some users might not care, other users might use it accidentally and realize that they do care. And we
Yeah.
don't know, we're stuck in this awkward place where we can't satisfy both kinds of users.
Yeah. I think that with the evolution of VPA over the past, it's not an exaggeration probably to say a decade. The idea that we could even come up with a good definition of what auto means is probably faulty. So
And I think when, John, I imagine it was when you were first working on it, coming up with in place or recreate, and it was the or recreate part that got me because I always imagined auto just be auto, and then when it was, well, it's auto except for when it can't be, that's the or recreate part. Now it's like, okay, well, it's not as magical as it seems, and we live in a world where nodes have limited sizes, so you can never have auto. What if you need to expand the size of the pod beyond what the current machine has capacity for? So I think that's ultimately the problem with auto is it was very loosely defined and didn't ever say the strict boundaries of what it would be. It just said one day this will just work.
okay, great. Omer, Adrian, you're +1 on the deprecating auto plan. Stoyan, you seem open to that. Do we have a next step for this? Defining what that deprecation looks like, deprecation schedule, etc.
There's a guideline on the Kubernetes
Yeah.
website.
Yeah.
So
So
we
we just
just
do the
need
normal
to
thing.
guideline.
do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Just doing the guidelines. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
nothing special. Yeah.
Okay, great. I think we'll move on to the next topic. Does that sound sufficient, Stoyan? Are you?
Sure.
Before we
Yeah.
go, can I ask, so when we deprecate it, is it like, so someone who has it set to auto right now, like they've got auto in that field, they've got a VPA, it exists there. Like, at some point, like, is that gonna like stop working and force them to actually like change that to something else? Or is it just like, cool, they've got it. It
It's
means what it meant when they got it, and that's fine.
it's going to live on forever until we make API v2, and then
Okay.
all users will need to manually switch across to API v2 if they choose
Okay.
to, and in which case API auto will not be defined in it. So deprecation just
Okay.
means it'll continue functioning, but it won't go away in this API version.
Okay, sweet, perfect. I
So
just wanted to make sure
we won't break them.
that sounds ideal. That sounds wonderful.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I
Okay,
assume we'll
cool.
log a warning in the VPA controller
Yeah,
logs,
exactly.
starting with it
And
once the deprecation kicks off, saying the next version of
please
this
don't
API,
use it.
this isn't going to exist. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And as of now, I don't think there's any plans to a next version of the API. So as of now, it'll probably be deprecated for infinity. But when one day we decide we need a new API, then we can figure out what that would look like without auto.
Okay, great. Thank you to the community. All right, so this has predictably populated itself magically during the meeting. Adrian, you've got oh no, we're still talking
Is
about these are
this
just notes.
are these notes?
Mike, if that was you, thank you so much.
Yeah, it's just the one. It's just the one topic, Jack. That was all we had.
Okay, great. Well, we've got 16 minutes, so we can give folks 16 minutes back. Or if anyone wants to raise something ad hoc, now's your
So
chance.
on the topic of VPA and in place, the original question that I had asked was, what is the next steps? Because we decided to put into alpha, and then we weren't too sure what the next steps were. So now we know we want to deprecate auto, but I guess that is unrelated to what happens to in place or recreate, and that's fine. It can happen in parallel. With in place or recreate, there's a few other conversations we might need to have. So VPA's compatibility promise is not well defined. And so I don't know how many versions of Kubernetes back you can go, but it's possible that somebody has in place or recreate on a cluster that doesn't support in place. And so I think, John, was it you and I who decided that let's leave it in alpha for another release because there's no good reason to bump it yet? So I'm just wondering if now that we've decided on something here, if we should decide on next steps of in place or recreate, and potentially the related issues such as backwards compatibility to older versions of Kubernetes, if we want to kind of support and that kind of stuff.
Sorry, I'm having computer problems over here. Oh, I think Zoom
No
just
problem.
locked out.
We can hear you if you can hear us.
Yeah. Okay, sweet. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So like yeah, Max. So Max couldn't be here. It's Canadian holiday. But yeah, I felt like it's not dangerous in terms of like we'll say like graduating it right like to beta. And so I feel like it's I don't know like I like I to me it's almost like all these things happening together like like maybe makes sense. Like you know what I mean? Like it's like hey so you know God, the original AP was like, I don't know. I don't see any, hang on. I crashed. It's
He's gone. I wonder if this is a conversation to take asynchronously on the ticket, because there's a few bits and pieces we can kind of just list those and decide what do we care about, what do we not, what are we going to do as the next step, when we're going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, we have a chance to synchronize a decision about that with 134, so maybe that's
Yeah.
the opportunity.
Yeah,
So
that's
in
what
the
I was
next
thinking.
few
With
weeks,
134 coming out, it'd be nice to cut a VPA release and then figure out this. Okay, I'll do this synchronously, then John doesn't need to worry about Zoom crashing on him.
Okay, great. Thanks, everybody. See you next week.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your
Bye-bye.
time. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Later, but.